Okay, so a little backstory before I tell you one of the most craziest experiences of mine that happened to me during my 2 year security career from 2013 through to 2015. I'm a 6'7" male from Australia, and I'd like to think I'm fairly tough and intimidating. But some of the shit that used to go on in the mall I used to work in at night still gives me goosebumps to this day. So, the mall that I worked in was very, very large. Probably the largest in my state, I would say. And all of the way up to about 8:30 p.m., it would still be quite busy. Only around 9:30 would we manage to usher all of the stragglers out, and only at about 11 p.m. would all of the business owners have left. My job was basically to patrol the mall and make sure there was no one sticking around after the doors were closed during the night. We didn't have guns or batons, only can of pepper spray that we rarely used. There were multiple occasions where we would find would-be thieves hiding around trying to break into shops after dark, but they were usually outnumbered by about 4 to 5 of us on shift at that time. They would usually be intimidated by me or some of the other imposing members of security. This one night though, shit started getting really weird for me on the night shift. So I would say it was about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was standing in the middle of an empty food court eating a sandwich. This was the only part of the mall that had any light at night time due to the skylight, so it was a bit comfortable to eat there. While I was eating though, I heard a dull scraping noise from the hallway leading off the food courts towards some of the toilets. It sounded like a piece of metal dragging across the floor. I was immediately put on edge and I flicked on my flashlight without a moment of hesitation. I can remember creeping down the hallway, flashlight in hand, illuminating a good 6 or 7 meters in front of me. As I got closer and closer to the end of the hallway, the noise became louder and louder, until I was at the end of the hallway, and there was the toilet doors to the left and right of me. I could tell the sound was coming from the female toilets though. I gripped the handle and opened the door a tiny bit. The noise was now very clear and had me not scared, but confused. I yelled, "Oi, who is there?" The noise quickly stopped. I paused a moment, listening hard through the tiny crack of the door, and I swear to fucking God I could hear breathing. Low, male breathing. I shut the door, still gripping the handle tightly, and flicked on my radio and said, "This is 1-3. I need help in the food court bathrooms. I think somebody is here." I had no response. This was really weird and strange and put me further on edge. Our policy was to always answer the radio, and now I was truly becoming quite alarmed. "This is 1-3, does anybody copy?" Still no response. I can remember whispering to myself, "What the actual fuck?" I again opened the door a tiny crack. "Listen, mate," I said, sounding as intimidating as possible. "If you don't fucking come out here with your hands up, you're going to end up eating your teeth tonight. Do you want that?" I stood there at the doorway, quite honestly terrified at this point, but there was still no response. In fact, now there was no noise at all. I yelled into the bathroom, "Okay, mate, I'm coming in. If you do anything stupid, it's not my fault, you'll never walk again." I tried my hardest to sound scary, but my voice was quivering at this point. The whole situation made no sense at all. Why would someone be in the female bathrooms? What was that metal noise, and what the fuck is even happening? I very slowly opened the door and scanned my flashlight slowly across the room. All the cubicles were open, but other than that, the room was totally empty. I was totally shitting myself about now. I was definitely losing it. I walked into the center of the bathroom, closing the door behind me. Scared to the core, I let out a faint, "This is some horror movie shit, eh? Come out," when I heard the long whining squeak of the door behind me. I span around, basically crying at this point, and shone my torch on a fucking massive man, at least a head taller than me, Caucasian, at least in his 40s, with matte grey hair all over his forehead. He was mid-opening the door, but he stopped dead still in the middle of his actions. He just looked at me, smiling this guilty smile, like a kid would make when he gets caught stealing a biscuit or some shit like that. I'm not going to lie, I was scared and I froze. He lifted his finger up to his mouth and said shush, before swinging the door open all the way and sprinting out with what looked like some type of small metal box in his hand. Turns out that he was just behind the toilet door when I was opening it, and I totally missed him. I was so close to him, I didn't even notice he was there. He could have killed me if he had a knife or something, and that thought still haunts me to this day. Later that night, my radio miraculously started working again, and I got right to telling my co-workers about my story. They collectively went pale when I told them what had happened. They all had similar stories, but none that were as much as a close shave as mine. I worked the night shift another week after that before I quit. I'm not sticking around in a job like that. I needed help, and for some reason my radio fucks itself. So, weird guy in the toilets, let's not meet again.